Hello, I'm Lauren. A little bit about me. I am a junior developer and the president of Ruby Australia. And yes, that is exactly as weird as it sounds. I'm not saying that imposter syndrome is a competition, but I am saying that if it was, I would win. So do we have many juniors in tonight? Wow, excellent. Okay. I'm going to give you some advice about learning to program and getting your first job in the field. Does that sound good? Yeah? All right. Keep a blog. Focus on being full stack. Be part of the community. Contribute to open source. Learn one language at a time. Keep a blog. Take time to learn the basics. Start helping others. Be teachable. Attend meetups, hack nights, etc. Keep a blog. Make lots of projects and finished web apps. Volunteer at Rails Girls. Make things. Don't spend too much time reading or doing courses. Start by learning a language that's really in demand. It will be easier to get a job. Keep a blog. Find something to keep you excited when you're banging your head against the wall. Don't feel like you need to be a programmer before you can go to programming events. For every 2 hours you spend learning a thing, spend an hour writing the thing. Decide on something you want to know how to build, something that you won't mind staying up late trying to get working. Keep a blog. Follow people in the open source community who are building the tools you like, especially those that vehemently disagree. Build a specific open source project or dev tool you're interested. Make it your business to find the answer to every question about it you can find. Pick apart a project that is small and visual and easy to get something into. Spoilers. Into the screen, know that it's disposable, maybe time box it in a week, blah, 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 blah. Keep a fucking blog. Do you feel overwhelmed yet? Because I did. I still do. This was like almost entirely, like literally just advice I was given by my own circle of like Twitter followers and co-workers in less than 24 hours. There's like way more advice out there. I'm sure like, yeah, many of you have heard a whole bunch of different things. It's not really an achievable list of things. And like some of them are like mutually exclusive, like, you know, specialize or diversify, you know, your learning. It's like you can't do both of those things. You have to pick. I find it like a little bit like a person with a naturally fast metabolism telling someone who struggles with their weight to just eat less and exercise more, or like an economically privileged person telling someone on Centrelink to just save money. Like these are things which, like, if you did them, they would result in probably some increased level of success or well-being, but it doesn't necessarily make it good advice. So credit to XKCD for this. Never stop buying lottery tickets, no matter what anyone tells you. I failed again and again, but I never gave up. I took extra jobs and poured the money into tickets. And here I am, proof that if you put in the time, it pays off. Every inspirational speech by someone successful should have to start with a disclaimer about survivorship bias. So, survivorship bias is a form of selection bias which places a disproportionate focus on those who succeed and excludes those who don't. It's often sort of compounded by a correlation causation bias, which sort of attributes to success to things that may or may not have actually made a difference. And then there's also kind of the flip side of that where you know, a lot of like seniors in the field or, you know, might have regrets about things that they wish they had done earlier in their careers, or things that they feel guilty about not learning or focusing on. So they'll tell you to do those things even though they didn't. I don't have a meme for this one because they were horrible. So I'm going to tell you a little secret. Our industry historically rewards certain kinds of developers with certain kinds of personalities, learning and coping styles. We don't have enough developers because of, among other things, past decisions and assumptions about what makes a good developer and what kinds of support and information they need to be successful and happy. our industry needs to change, and our industry is changing. So Ruby Australia is a pretty good example of this. The committee, when it started, as a whole, it was relatively senior developers who all presented as white men. In 6 years, it's progressed to having an even split between the two binary genders, male and female, and a much broader range of skill levels. So, I mean, gender diversity is far from the whole picture. It's a very easy thing to focus on. It's generally quite visible, and I guess the desired ratio based on the overall population is quite easy to define, 50-50. A lot of other kinds of diversity are a lot harder to do that with. We have a lot of work to do in terms of many other kinds of diversity, but it's a different talk. The point is that I think the diversity of the committee is likely a lagging indicator rather than a leading one. More diverse people are entering into the community, more of them are staying in the community, and then some of those people find a place in the committee. So that's a good sign. This is, my message of hope in amongst all of that advice that you're barraged with all the time. My advice on top of all of the advice, and I realize how ironic that is pick a few manageable things from that list and, all the other advice that you get, which it might be like 3-ish things, if they're big, but it really depends on, how much time you've got. That varies a lot between person to person. Find things which you find enjoyable and rewarding. I should say enjoyable or rewarding. Not everything is going to be fun all of the time. Learning to program is pretty hard. But you should find it rewarding in some way. This may take some time to figure out. So people who know you better might be able to give you some more personalized advice about what suits you. But in the end, you're the person who lives in your own skin, and it's kind of up to you to troubleshoot what works and what doesn't for you. Take those things and do them well, and people will notice that. They'll notice the passion that you have for those things, and you're also a lot less likely to get burnt out or lose interest. Because you're doing those things that you feel are really worth doing, not just because some senior told you to, some teacher told you to. The biggest takeaway, I think, from this talk for juniors is allow yourself to not feel guilty about all the things you're not doing. Literally everything you choose to do means choosing not to do a whole lot of other things with that time and energy. And that's just life. It's not just learning to code, but in an industry as complex and broad as programming, it's very pronounced and it can be really nerve-wracking. So just breathe and take a step back and stop and look at weird drunk rainbow memes occasionally. And I mean, basically the counterpoint to this is, yes, I'm just a junior. Most of the advice that you'll hear is kind of built up by people who have made it, which again, survivorship bias. But these are also the people who are likely to be making the decisions about whether or not to hire you in the future. So there's definitely an argument for, following their advice over mine. But the thing is, I'm not telling you not to follow other people's advice. I'm just telling you to be discerning about it. And don't feel like this industry isn't for you if something isn't working. This industry is for you. This industry is for everyone. Following your own path makes room for others behind you, which can be a really good thing to keep in mind. Focusing on different things and learning in different ways will make you suitable for different kinds of jobs at different companies. I don't have a technical qualification or open source experience or a blog. I love community work. And like, I'll keep doing it until I'm grey from stress, more grey from stress. I found a company where that's appreciated. Culture Amp. And where it's okay to acknowledge that I might not progress as quickly technologically because of that community focus. You might love to code all night alone in the dark, and like, you'll be suited for different kinds of work. Like, I know people who are like that, and they have very successful careers. Like, they often work for San Francisco companies, and they can match time zones with people but still code at night alone in the dark. Like, that's great. We are not each other, and that's a good thing. Together, I think we can make amazing systems for our like diverse set of users and the developers who come after us. We're just all valuable. Finally, I want to say like sorry to my coworkers and Twitter followers who like genuinely like tried to give me like helpful advice when I asked them yesterday. This is, yeah, thanks everyone. This is great. I definitely haven't lured you all into a trap. This is like my work Slack channel. So I'll try and sort of compile the list of advice I got genuinely from people, so that, you know, into something shareable, so people can actually benefit from it. But it will probably just say this. So thank you. Questions?
Do you have a blog?
No, I do not. The question was, do I have a blog? I do not. I don't. Well, I think I have like a single blog post that's like floating around on the internet from like a year ago. I tried.
Great. Also, second, can you make your next question to your followers, etc., people you've worked out on what the hell a junior developer should write about in a blog that hasn't been done?
Okay, so the question was kind of long, but I kind of want you to come up and say it. So basically, it was a little bit of snark, which I very much appreciate, about directing the question back to my co-workers and Twitter followers. What exactly should a junior write about in this mythical blog that you keep talking about? Sure. No, that's totally going to work for some people. Again, it's kind of like objectively good advice, just on aggregate. It's just not going to be the right piece of advice for every individual, and that's kind of the point, I guess. Anyone? No? Cool. We'll move on to the next talk. Thank you.